I'm incredibly proud to be the Governor of Berwyn, really proud to start the journey of making the vision for Berwyn real. I think it's a landmark day today when the first men actually arrive. So yeah, I think the first feeling that comes to mind is pride. I've been involved with the project for nearly 2 years, and the local community will have seen how the buildings have come together. The buildings is one part. The other part of it is the people, and we've managed to recruit locally lots of people, everything from chefs to nurses to teachers to prison officers and to operational support grades. And I think the actually working with the people and developing the people that are going to run the prison has been hugely exciting. And the next thing is the men arrive this afternoon.
I've had butterflies for the last few days. We've been on a massive journey here, an absolute massive journey. One of the things that's been outstanding for me is the new staff that we've recruited, particularly from North Wales, across the local area. What we've done differently here, we've recruited people on their values, not their competencies. So not on their ability to do something, but on what they actually believe in. And we've got 6 core values here. So we've recruited the staff on that. And it's been absolutely outstanding. The staff that we've had, the new officers that we've had, the first 60 officers that have come through their training so far, they ended up being sent to Pentonville after the escape of the 2 men working in that environment, and they went to Birmingham after the riots. So they've seen some real different things that a lot of experienced officers have already seen, but the feedback from those staff going out there has been phenomenal.
What was good with working in other establishments, we could take the positives and the negatives from them establishments and implement them here and know what works and what doesn't, so that we've got a blank canvas on how we can go forward and rehabilitate the men differently to what other establishments are doing at the moment.
The men that will be held here will be Category C, which is the lowest category of men that need to be held within a secure setting.
We knew from the outset what type of prison we were going to be, so what security category it was going to be and the type of men that we would want to come here or that would meet that criteria to come here. So what we did, we went through the database of all those people that are currently in custody and identified those that would meet our criteria. We identified 10 main prisons that would be the ones where the men would be coming from to come and join us. So we've been out to each of those establishments. We've done road shows there for a few days. For example, we may have gone into the gym during lunchtime. The men have come down, we've spoke to them about what we hope Berwyn is going to be about the hopes and ambitions we've got for this place and the opportunities it's going to represent for the men. So they got to see that, they got to hear that, and it was that point that the men could then say, yes, I'd like to come. We had quite a few maybes, I'd like to come, but I need to speak to the missus, I need to speak to the family and things like that. So what started off quite slowly has now escalated, and we've got over 600 men who have written to us and said, I would like to come to Berwyn, I have that opportunity to change my life. There is an extent of cherry picking, but the cherry picking along the lines of we couldn't open Berwyn if we hadn't got men that could come and work in the kitchen because we couldn't provide the meals. We need men who can support our other men come into custody. So for example, one of the roles that the men play in custody is that what we call a listener, and that's someone that's trained by the Samaritans to support men in custody that may be struggling with their time in custody. So what we have had to cherry pick is to make sure that we've got the right skill set of the first men to come here, but that's not the full 600, that's probably about 150 men. We need the right mentors, and we need the men that can work on the wings, the men that are training industrial cleaning, the men that are training painting and decorating and things like that. So we have had to cherry pick a small amount to make sure we've got the right workforce to some extent to be fully operational. But after that, it has just been, if the men write to us and they want to come and they meet our criteria, then absolutely they can come to us, yes.
Any organisation has to have the maturity to be able to learn lessons as we're going along. Berwyn has got everything we know that works well is here at Berwyn, and some of the technology, the way we're using, it's a digital prison, the technology we're using is exceptional.
Well, in other establishments, everything's paper-based, and there's a lot of pressure on the officers to get through the paperwork, because if they want to order food, if they want to order canteen, it's all paper-based. But with these laptops at the moment, it takes out the work for the officers, meaning that we can spend more time with the men, talk to them, rehabilitate them, and do purposeful activities with them, rather than being sat in an office doing paperwork.
The principle of normality is something that came from the Mandela rules. Nelson Mandela, after spending a long time in custody, came up with a small number of rules, one of which is basically if you make the experience in custody as similar to the experience in the community, then the transition from one to the other will be more seamless. And I think that makes absolute sense. So it's important we use normal language that people hear in the community, rather than institutional language that people use in custody. And one of those is rooms rather than cells. That's just one of the many. Using preferred names is equally as important, because calling someone by a name they choose to be called by is actually the first step into showing respect. And if you show respect, it builds trust. And if you've got trust and respect, it reduces the chance of violence between the men and the people who have the chance to look after them. We're really fortunate with the quality of the buildings we've got for education, for vocational training and work. And we're going to be able to give every man that lives here the opportunity to be educated, either vocationally or numeracy, literacy and IT, or some offender behaviour programmes as well. So every person that lives here will be able to have a job during the day. And I think that's really, really important.
So Novus Cambria is a company that's been created from Novus, who've got over 20 years experience in prison education, and Coleg Cambria, who have all the local experience that we needed to create a really fantastic offer here for the learners that will come to HMP Berwyn. And what we're trying to do is to create something different in prison education, to try and send learners out into the world, into society, having developed the skills that they need to lead sustainable lives in the future. We'll have over 24 classrooms delivering from art, personal social development, maths and English, but delivered in new innovative ways. We've got a digital agenda as well to make sure that learners are able to use the technology that they'll need to use to find jobs and to, gain employment when they get out. Some of the other things that we're doing is, for example, developing a workshop, a sustainability workshop, where we'll be keeping bees and teaching learners about the environment around them, about looking after each other, looking after animals, and then hopefully creating an ethos of us all in it together and one society. Learners will be able to look at their family needs, drugs and alcohol needs, and then move on into education, and the pathways that we'll create will go straight out into employment, hopefully working with lots of employers within the local community, develop real opportunities for learners within HMP Berwyn and in the local community.
Every person that comes to Berwyn will be released into the community at some point. And when people do get released into the community, they will need to have a knowledge of how to use IT. In doing that, we need to show them how to do it and train them how to do it while they're in custody. So the IT systems we've got in the rooms is called self-service. So it allows the men to look after their own administration rather than looking at the staff to do everything for them. And I think that's a really important part of the journey of getting people de-institutionalised so they can get back into the community and live law-abiding lives. Sports facilities, I think it's really important that people have a healthy diet. I think it's important that people have a good amount of sleep, and I think it's important that people have a good level of activity. And in doing that, we need to make sure we put sports facilities in custody that allow the men to have those healthy lives. And also people who have a healthy life with good diet and good levels of sleep are less likely to take drugs, and it improves their mental health. I think psychoactive substances are a challenge for every prison, and I'm sure it'll be a challenge for us as well. What I'm sure about is I've tried my absolute best with my security team to make sure that every measure that we know has been put into place to make sure that it's not going to be a significant problem to us. However, I think with any type of drug, there's two sides of drugs. There's one part is the supply, and we need to do everything we can to disrupt supply. And then we need the psychosocial part of drugs, about educating the men that live here to make sure that they don't actually have a demand for the drugs. So we will try and reduce demand and make supply incredibly difficult, then we've got a fighting chance. You'll have seen yourself when you walked around, it feels like an incredibly secure institution. I think to the people of Wrexham, we want to be part of the community. We're aware that we've arrived and we've employed a lot of people, local people to work here. We want to be involved in the local community, we want to reach out, and we want people to come and see what we're doing here. So eventually the people aren't nervous about us, but they're actually proud of what we're doing here.